But let's go do the news. Ooh. Well, welcome to the news, everyone. My name is Clyde. This is Clyde Plays News, and our top story today is actually the developer bulletin. It's going to talk about some things we've already talked about, things like the upcoming Dockyard. But first, let's go over to this story. This is actually hotter, fresher news, but it's pretty small news. It's not a huge deal. Well, it kind of is a huge deal. It kind of depends, I guess. This was announced on this morning's EU official stream. That's the largest stream that World of Warships runs, where they talked about the method of distributing new ships. Now, when they say methods of distribution of new ships, what Wargaming is really talking about is what currency you can buy them from. Now, if you spend any time at all on my YouTube channel or on my stream, you know that I get geeked about optimizing the currency and the spending of things. And what happened today was Wargaming said, I don't know, what if everything was available for coal? A resource that I just literally spent all of my coal on the USS Black here recently, and I've been grinding coal back up. I am up to about 100,000 coal again, which took some time. But my goodness, 3 new ships that they've been working on, that we've been waiting for, that we've been speculating about, have just been announced for coal. Álvaro de Bazán, Rio de Janeiro, and Malta are all going to be coal ships here for World of Warships, which is pretty exciting, actually. It does mean that more players are going to be able to get... no, Scotta, no. Bad Scotta. How dare you? No. This? No. But what that means is all of those boats are going to be available for coal. It typically means that those ships are not going to be like super mega wawa, mega boy overpowered ships. We tend to see the most powerful ships being in the Steel or Research Bureau area, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some great coal ships in World of Warships. There really are. So, you know, you're going to want to watch the development of these. You're going to watch some reviews as content like that comes out for these ships. And see if they're for you. And then as you're saving up your coal, pick which ones you want. Now, one thing to note is Rio de Janeiro is a tier 5 battleship. That is going to be a pretty affordable ship, available for coal in terms of cost compared to Álvaro de Bazán or Malta, which are going to be much more expensive. Now, Wargaming has not announced the currencies or the amounts of credits, or excuse me, the amounts of coal for these ships. However, we've got a lot of ships to look at presently in the game to see what they're going to cost. I would guess that Malta's price is probably going to be similar to what we're seeing for, what's the German one? What's the German coal carrier? Help me, please. Álvaro de Bazán is going to be similar to what we see for destroyers, so probably something around the 250,000 coal mark. The German aircraft carrier is called it's not Richthofen, it's the other one. It's Immelmann. Thank you, Frost Knight. I was stalling there until you guys could help me. Yes, it's going to be, I'm guessing, similar in cost to Immelmann. So, you know, if you don't know for sure, you can bet it's going to be within a stone's throw for that. The other ship that's been announced is the Tier 9 American cruiser Vallejo. Seraphis insisted on calling this Vallejo on the stream, even though I don't think that's how it's pronounced in America. But he says it's a Spanish name, it should be pronounced Spanishly. I disagree, but that's fine. We're going to have a lot of people pronouncing this boat very differently. The one pronunciation that is definitely off the table that is not okay is Vallejo. Please don't call it Vallejo. That is terrible. But Vallejo is interestingly going to be available for steel. The reason why this is particularly of interest is that steel ships have historically been 10s. They had some steel ships that were lower than tier 10. We had the Flint at tier 7. We had the Black and the Neustrashimi at tier 9. There might be others. And they swept all of those ships out of the steel port, or out of the steel shop, and put them in the armory for coal. And now they said, whatever. What if we put another tier 9 in for steel? Now, I find that very interesting. I don't really know what Vallejo is going to cost, but we should know fairly soon. as the ship becomes available for purchase. I believe some of these boats are still in the hands of the hot little hands of our testers, and so obviously, you know, we're not quite sure what all of the final stats are going to be. There is a previous development blog article about each of these ships that lists their initial stats, which you can go review on the WoW's development blog. You can check that out yourself at a later date. If we go on to our next story, it is this story right here. Oh yeah, the one you've all been waiting for. This is the story about the Lighthouse auction. Now, I am not a big fan of the auction personally. I have bid on things in the auction before, but I've never won anything from the auction. And I think it's kind of an expensive way to get things in general. You guys know I'm a cheapskate. Most of my most watched YouTube content is about cheapskating and getting stuff for as affordably as possible. Even though I'm a bit of a whale myself, I want to make sure when I spend money, I get the absolute most for that money. And when I spend non-money, the free credits and consumables, I get the absolute most free credit type stuff for that kind of thing. The two ships that are available are Patrie and Edgar. Both of these are super ships, or what we're calling tier 11 ships. Wargaming doesn't want to call them tier 11s, but frankly, that's what they are. Patrie is a French battleship, so it's like a super French battleship, and Edgar is like a super Minotaur. I think this is the first time they've been made available to anybody, so nobody has these boats yet, and they're going to offer them up for auction. And it is one of the things they've done with the auction recently is they made it a single price auction. This did not used to be the case, but now when you bid on something in the auction house, whatever the lowest winning bid is the price that everyone pays. So that's actually a nice thing Wargaming's done for us. Basically, nobody, if you bid, let's say 200 million credits and somebody else bid 250 million credits and 200 was the lowest bid, everybody's only going to pay that lowest price is what that means. Let's actually take a quick look at the auction itself. This is it in game. The Patrie special bundle, you're going to have 500 people who across all 4 servers are going to win Patrie, and the initial bid is 100 million credits. That's a lot of credits. I believe that it appears as though anyone can win this, even players who don't meet the requirements for having super ships. It's a little bit sus, but at the end of the day, it's 500 ships across 4 servers all around the world, and you still have to have 100 million credits, but honestly, you have to have more than 100 million credits because you're going to have to outbid somebody to get it. And so, you know, it's a lot of credits for a boat you're going to be able to get for half that much, not very long. Not very long from now. The trick with this is that these boats are not premium ships. You don't get the benefits of a premium ship, and they're going to be very expensive in terms of silver. Now, there are those who might be hunching right now that one of the reasons why they're putting out a big silver auction right now is because every one of us came in here, and the folks that had a lot of camos and bonuses, we sold a lot of those things, and now we have this huge glut of silver in the overall World of Warships economy, right? I'd be really interested to see a bar graph or a line graph that shows what the average credit stock is for every player across all of the individual servers across the world, and what it looked like before the patch and what it looked like after the most recent patch, to see how much money, how much credits, I should say, how many credits people have in their accounts across all of those things. Vyashno showing up with a raid. Welcome, Vyashno. Welcome, raiders. Please find a place to sit and join us, because I bet you there's a lot of credits that are out there, and there are more people who are going to be able to bid on this than there would have been 2 months ago, for example. Now that said, 100 million is a lot of credits. I only have 200 million credits. I'm not going to be bidding on these personally. If you're bidding on them, I'm really interested in what you think they're going to go for. I think these are going to be really interesting. I imagine that the forums are going to have people talking about whether they got them or not, and we'll find out how many credits that people pulled out of the auction. I'm very curious about that. So those are a couple of things that are coming up. Patrie, a big old French battleship. Edgar, a super Minotaur. I think if I were picking one of these personally, I'd probably go for Edgar because I'm less of a battleship player, and I kind of do like Minotaur, but that's just my stance there. Dashford says, Potato Quality said he wouldn't be surprised if the winning bid was 300 million credits. I wouldn't be surprised either. I have no idea what it's going to be. Masman says, I truly believe that Ouija did not imagine players would sell all their camos for 40 million plus credits. I sold 160 million credits worth of camos when I came over, personally. So I can't be the only person who's done that. And I still have a lot of camos in my inventory because I played so much. The minister says, I'll be after those super containers myself. We're about to talk about those. That'll be interesting. Is that Rice Tails? Rice Tails. I'm sorry, I missed that. Rice Tails says, once they're released, they will go for around half that. That is true. Super ships are about 50 to 60, 70. I think battleships are a little bit more. They might be 60 million or something. But they're about 50 million credits. So if you can be patient, the other thing to remember is all you're paying for with this auction is early access to those battleships. Take it easy, Eli. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate having you around. So this is for people who have that fear of missing out, that FOMO. You can wait and buy these ships for cheaper later. And remember, these are super ships. They're not as credit profitable as tier 10s or tier 9s or tier 8s. And so, you know, not only are they going to cost you a lot, but they're going to be less profitable to play, or even you could potentially lose credits playing these ships in the future. Now, that isn't to bash on super ships a whole bunch. Listen, at the end of the day, they're here to stay. We're going to have super ships in this game. I own one. I bought the Conde. And I kind of want a Zorky because I'm a glutton for punishment that way. But like, you know, they're here. And so over time, this is going to become normal for us. I don't know. We'll see how that kind of affects the game going forward. Let's talk about the other auction items that we've got here. We have Warships Premium account, 7 days for coal. This is not a good deal. This is not a good deal. 15,000 coal is not a small amount of coal. It's not a huge amount of coal, but 7 days of premium, how much does that cost? The question is it faster for you to get the price of 7 days of premium, which I think is like $5 or something? Or is it faster for you to get 15,000 coal? 7 days of premium is exactly, it's $4.99 in US monies. And so for me, I can get $5 faster than I can get 15,000 coal. So I don't think this is a good deal. And remember, that's the minimum bid. It's going to go up from there. Somebody on my Discord made the joke, I would give you 7 days of premium for 15,000 coal. And I would definitely do that. So for me, that's not the way to go. Zornbringer says they are credit sinks. We're talking about super ships here. And guessing from the missions they hand out, I assume actual usage is way lower than they expected. That is possible, Zorn. I don't know. Let's talk about the next one. Coal, 15 million credits for 50,000 coal. We've had, what is the normal coal thing? It's normally 100,000 coal. And we've seen this go for 80 or 100 million credits before or more. I don't really know the numbers. So this one, I actually think the coal, for people who have a lot of credits, that's not a bad one to bid on. I do think the coal's going to go for way more than normal because of all the camouflage sales. So, you know, be wary of that if you're going to bid on the coal. I think it's going to be hard to get. That's my speculation. We'll see. The last one is a super container. They're offering super containers on auction for doubloons. The minimum bid is 1 doubloon. And they're going to give away 10,000 of them. Now, I don't think... Now, I know, who was it earlier said, I'm going to be after those super containers. And I think that's great. I think super containers are nice. It was the minister. For my money, I don't know how much I think a super container is worth. I don't think they're worth a lot, personally. I'm going to get some camos or some signals or something out of that box. I'm very unlikely to get a ship out of that box that I don't already have, although it is possible. We were just talking about that earlier, about getting those super rare ships, which are available in super containers. For me, maybe I'd bid like $1, like 250 doubloons. I'm not going to bid a lot on a super container personally, because I don't really place a high monetary value on the contents. I think we were talking about it on the Clyde Plays Discord, and you know, people were talking about being willing to pay $3 to $5 for one. I suspect these are going to go for way more than I would be willing to pay for them. And I think there's a lot of ways to get super containers, so this isn't a particularly special purchase. Now, Keaton says bid 1 dub. Now, if we all agreed to only bid 1 doubloon, and they gave out 10,000 super containers for 1 doubloon, I think that would just be high comedy. That would be fantastic. That's less than a penny, personally, like in US currency. So for me, you know, not a huge super container fan, at least not for real money costs. I like super containers, but I don't want to pay for them. So for me, I'd kind of avoid the super container myself. But hey, I understand there is that gambling option, right? I mean, you might get a Julio Cesare out of there like Frost Knight did. It would be insane, but it could happen. So that's what we've got here for the Lighthouse auction. They've got a few graphics down here. They got some nice pictures of the ships, which you can check out. I'll show you a picture of the Edgar here, almost big enough to enjoy. And that is about all we've got on that story. That was news story number 3. Do I have a 4th news story? Let's push this button and see. Oh yeah, just a quick advertisement for Clash of the Classes. I talked about this on Tuesday's stream. This article right here that they've got on the World of Warships website gives all of the critical information that you want to get. Clash of the Classes is a 4 versus 4 tournament where they use ELO, which is a skill-based rating system to match up teams to play against each other. It's a lighthearted and fun tournament, so if you're maybe not ready for something like King of the Sea, you might really get a kick out of Clash of the Classes. These are the critical dates, though. Registration has started already, and you need to be registered before August 2nd if you want to put together a team. Why might you want to put together a team? I am going to be casting this tournament. Scott just said Electric Light Orchestra, which is a band. No, not that. I don't remember what ELO stands for, but it's a nerdy math thing. You can read the Wikipedia article. It's kind of interesting. If you guys enter into this, now this is an NA only tournament, unfortunately, for folks living outside of the NA region. But even if you live in Europe and you have an NA account, you can make the times. We'd love to have you here. I think it's going to be in the middle of the night for y'all over there if you're playing from Europe. But anyway, if you want to be registered, do that by August 2nd. Qualification begins on the 4th and runs through the 11th. And then after that, we're going to do the playoff tournament. I think it's a 32-player bracket that's going to start on August 13th. Warships is sponsoring this tournament, and they are even giving out prizes. And I know the Clash of the Classes folks are trying to make sure that more people than just the top few teams are going to walk away with some sort of prize for participating in this tournament. So if you have a mind to get involved in the tournaments, in the tournament circuit or whatever, this could be a really interesting way to do it. Let's get back to our top story, which is about a few things we've talked about before, but they are coming up and they are going to wind up in the game sooner rather than later. The Dockyard, we've been talking about the Dockyard, is for Puerto Rico, which is coming up soon in the next patch, which I think is how long until 11.7, guys? Is it another 4 weeks or so? I think it's about a month away. But if you're thinking about doing the Dockyard, it's time to get yourself pumped up and ready to go. We are going to see a 40-phase Dockyard, which feels very long for me. And the Huron will be available in that Dockyard. I see Bowmaster is talking about it. Huron is going to come out on, I think, phase 25. Let's see. Yep, 25th phase will get you Huron. They will sell booster packs, so if you want to spend money on it, you can do it. If you don't want to spend money on it and you're not even planning on getting all the way to Puerto Rico, maybe you can get to the Huron or get all of the other lesser prizes along the way. You get some good stuff out of the Dockyard. So even if you're not going to go all the way, take a look at the phases and see if there's anything in there that you want to get to and play along. Usher says, bruh, 40 phases? Dude, I know. That's a lot of phases. Now, this is a tier 10 ship. The Puerto Rico, and it's a legendary ship that hasn't been available for a long time. In my opinion, as a person who does not own Puerto Rico, I want you to take that grain of salt. I don't have a Puerto Rico because last time I looked at the Puerto Rico Dockyard and I said, you guys can F right off. We're not doing that. I don't know if it's worth killing yourself over. However, at the end of the day, if you want Puerto Rico, it's a rare ship. It's a real ship. You should go for it. Wait, hang on. Alaska was real. Did they actually build Puerto Rico? I think they did, right? LDP says, I'm not doing this one. Listen, I don't blame you. It's up to you guys if you're going to be aggressive enough to do it. I am on the fence. I've been leaning towards doing it, but we'll see. We will see. If you already have the Puerto Rico, you're thinking, I don't have to do this Dockyard. And it's true, you don't. But you can complete the Dockyard and you can get 35,000 doubloons instead of the Puerto Rico, or 33,000 steel, or 63,000 research points. Initially, they had a coal reward in here that was kind of stupid because you could trade the steel for more coal than the coal was worth. So it looks like they've removed that, which is smart. I'm glad they did. Oh, it was Guam. It was Guam. You're right. Thank you, Rick. I knew they made 2, and I thought it was Puerto Rico, but you're right. It was Guam. Alaska, Guam, and Puerto Rico are not U.S. state, or they were not at the time U.S. states. They were all territories, and so that was one of the cool things about that class of ships, is they were all named after territories at the time. Anyway, camera improvements. This is the other thing I wanted to talk about. We are going to see some ability to adjust the height of the camera, and this is particularly interesting when we're using the spotting aircraft. This is a really big boon to players who they launch their spotter, and then all of a sudden a destroyer sneaks out from behind an island in front of them, and now you've got this weird firing angle, and you're like trying to orient yourself to make hits on a ship that is too close to you. Obviously, when you get very close, the spotting aircraft isn't that big of a deal, but you'll be able to control that camera angle a little bit. I am very excited about this change. I think this is going to be very good quality, a very good quality of life improvement for players who are using spotters quite a bit, and it's going to make spotter easier to learn. I cannot tell you the number of new players to World of Warships who have been like, man, I can't figure out how to use that spotting plan. It always screws me up, because it's an entirely different skill from shooting regularly. I mean, you can see the two pictures they've got here. This is a more normal view, and then this one shows the higher angle spotter plane view. Is assuming that you'll be able to select between those even when you're firing at that range. That's going to be a really nice thing. With that, guys and gals and everybody else, we are done with the news. Thank you so much for watching Clyde Plays News. If you're watching this on YouTube later on, we do this live on Twitch 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays are in the evening, my time here on the west coast of these United States. Saturdays in the morning, which is a great time for EU folks to watch because it's your Saturday evening. So if you've never been over to Twitch and you think, hey, maybe this thing's fun to do live, I guarantee you that it is. I'd love to have you come hang out with us over here. If you're watching on Twitch right now, we are going to return to doing some battles. Thank you so much for being a part of the news, and let's get to it. Thanks, guys. Bye.
This has been the news on Clyde Plays Live.